multinationals. But multinationals would jettison them and go and buy media direct. This is unprofessional conduct. And the whole spirit of corporate license is being lost.
Garba Kankarofi noted that revisiting the law establishing OPCON with a view to correcting the fundamentals as well as technological upgrade that will help the organization tackle relevant needs is needed.
My other constraints, of course, definitely is the issue of illegal practitioners, including foreigners, and my inability to monitor what is going on in the media. The media is very vast now, and I need money to buy technology. With digitization coming, it's not likely that we can achieve this success without digitization and without our ability to buy equipment to monitor each and every one. My other problem is the
federal government support at ensuring that the organization gets the necessary assistance.
Being a regulatory organization, they depend solely on budgeting. They have help from governments to upgrade their to be able to monitor and police the people they are supposed to regulate. We will do all we can. We're always soliciting and always pleading for our agencies and even the ministry.
OPCON was established by law to regulate and control the practice of advertising in all aspects and ramifications in Nigeria. In Lagos, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, has taken unlucrative. The destruction of the drugs was carried out in Lagos. The report.
The over 1,800 kilograms of illicit drugs were seized by the various commands of the National Enforcement Agency in Lagos and its national headquarters. The drugs are mainly cannabis, cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and ephedrine. Some of them were concealed, while some were swallowed. Yes, were made possible due to the collaborating efforts of sister agencies and international agencies.
Now, look at they are trafficking. So if it was losing their lives, if such a quantity of drugs here in Nigeria would be banned, why should they be putting their lives in danger?
He expressed concern about a cartel that aided 197 convicted drug traffickers to evade serving their jail terms through the connivance of some court clerks and prison warders. The chairman also disclosed how some youths have been lured into drug trafficking under the guise of white-collar jobs abroad, and therefore want parents to monitor the activities of their children's political and social stability as well as economic development. The public destruction was witnessed by international collaborators as well as other security agencies.
The federal government has taken a proactive measure to address the incessant fuel shortages in the country. This informed the sensitization workshop organized by the Department of Petroleum Resources to encourage indigenous investment in modular refineries across the country. Musa Toliat completes the report. We move on now. Elective legislative functions. Speakers at an orientation retreat for newly elected assembly members say oversight function is a critical responsibility the state houses of assembly should take seriously. They spoke at an orientation retreat for some newly elected assembly members in Lagos.
Elected members is a platform to acquaint the legislative members of the of a state house of assembly to adequately prepare them for effective legislative activities. Speaker by Bayelsa State House of Assembly Kundoro Benson presentation.
When you are new members coming into the office, you need to rely on them, the nitty-gritties, the preliminaries, and what it takes to make laws.
Speaking on the principles of federalism and separation of powers in Nigeria, Professor Solomon Ebobs.
It becomes a problem either when the executive usurps the powers of the legislator or imposes to the extent that
parliamentary protocol, standing orders, motions, debates, and resolutions. Former clerk at the National Assembly, Niyi Ajiboye explains the importance of motions and parliamentary debates towards promoting good governance in the state. Some of the newly elected members bear their minds on the orientation retreat.
It is an eye-opener. It teaches us, it trains us as to what is expected of us when we get to the floor of the house.
Know all the nitty-gritty of the business, how important it is, and then how effectively we can now handle matters that might be affecting our people.
The internet were ironed out. It will be recalled that a similar retreat was organized for the legislature in Abuja last Olajide Bello. NTA News.
Indeed, it's good for the legislators to be inculcated with how to go about ruling and ensuring that members of their constituencies are satisfied with what Friday Benson, he is the Speaker of Bielsa State House of Assembly, and he will be throwing more light into the functions of a legislator. Thank you for joining us on the news tonight.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll go straight. A major issue that has been widely discussed in the public fora, the legislator, both at the state and federal, are effective. In what ways can this be achieved?
Yes, it's light we have taken all the time out to come into in order to properly give the desired induction to our people. Those who have just been elected into the office. And also for the new members, the old members, they also ranking. You don't get exhausted with learning. And so if we learn well, if we learn properly, we'll be able to give out enough to the lawmaking process. And that is why we are here.
Okay, let's hope that will be achieved throughout the federation. Be implemented by the executive. Can the legislature enforce this?
The issue about appropriation, as it is practiced all over, whenever about taking on, the legislature has to wait on what we call the medium term. There is a medium term something I could not recall immediately. That is provided to the assembly. We now work with that template. Now, after then, the executive now goes ahead to prepare the budget based on monies, what we call the envelopes that are prepared for them for each, and then they forward their appropriation bills to the House of Assembly, and then we go ahead to do the needful, that is we take it to the floor of the house, and then we pass it on to committees, and then the committees go ahead to look in the budget, okay. And then they go ahead to invite the various MDAs, and they try to interact with them and to know which of the issues present and which area was done right. So in that process, everybody comes on board to play his role in the appropriations process.
Okay. Just development of the community. You represent, you're checking the executive, and you're checking the appropriation, the bills or the proposals sent to the House. Now, how can the legislators themselves be checked?
Well, yes, the legislators are checked through their representative, the people whom they represent. Because it is everywhere, they will continue to be shouting, they will continue to be calling on you, and that we don't have any project, any developmental project being carried on in our community.
committees here and there, not just in the states, it's all over, even in the federal system. If roads that are supposed to be enshrined in the constitution, in the budget, are not there, you expect that your people will be calling on you from time to time to ensure that you do the needful. And so sometimes because of some certain busy schedules here, yes, it is not supposed to be so, and that is why we have to come up to train ourselves, because without you being told of what you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to know, you get out there and then you'll be carried away with other issues. Whereas in the actual sense, you are them in town hall meetings, not until when elections are near, and then you go back to them and then they start asking you, what have you done, why is it now you are coming to do this, and all of that. So it is because of that, outside the law making in the floor of the house, we have to always look into what we're supposed to do back at home.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Now, oversight functions are constitutionally enshrined to promote our checks and balances. What should the legislature do to strengthen this function?
Yes, oversight functions are always falling under question, so to say, because the legislature is expected to be oversighting on both governors, commissioners, and other agencies in government. But the issue is, it's not just inviting the persons. It's not just trying to do what you think that is the best. Where we observe some kind of from the oil companies, so to say.
Honorable sir, time will not really permit us to really go deep into what you want to talk about, but lastly, very briefly, in your response, it has been alleged that the state assemblies are more or less the rubber stamp of state governors. Could this be checkmated if it is true? In your last words.
Well, I want to sincerely say that that could only be observational, because whatever you observe, you have every reason to say what you have observed. But for me, I don't see that as a true position, because we have a rule, we have clear laws, you are meeting up with the issues of your constituency and then your office, and anybody will come out and say you are compromising your draft. It's not true.
We've made it clear. Thank you. Right Honorable Conway Friday.
Very much.
Still to come, Nigerians urged to conduct regular for early detection of cancer. Pop star Davido in the news again. These and more after the break.
StarTime Solar Phone now. Artistically designed for comfort. Its ergonomic curves offering the perfect touch in your hands. It's extremely slim at only 8mm. Use the 13-megapixel camera to capture all your precious moments. Enjoy the gallery with a 5-inch HD display and multi-touch screen.
Exotic land of Rendo, a giant in the sun, rich in human and natural resources, a land of cultural diversity for tourist appreciation. Nigeria occupies 923,766 square kilometers, accommodating over 250 indigenous languages. The paradise for tourists.
With us. The federal government has taken proactive measure to address the incessant fuel shortages in the country. This informed the sensitization work to encourage indigenous investments in modular refineries across the country. Musa Tariat completes the report.
Investors as well as original equipment manufacturers in the oil and gas sector to get first-hand information on the modalities for establishing modular refineries. According to the Deputy Director, Engineering and Standards Division, Alfred Ohiani, who represented the Director of DPR, Modular refineries are toppling plants that process crude oil with limited capacity to meet local consumption. They have capacity that range from 10,000 to 500,000 production per barrel. He informed the stakeholders that such modular refineries are inexpensive.
Why we have gone with this modular refinery initiative. Small scale of it to be producing diesel. So we believe that more people can use that same wisdom and be able to produce all the other products.
All permits are to be issued by DPR, and investors have the liberty to choose locations to site the modular refineries based on where they intend to source their crude oil supply.
We have to all resolve these refineries, and so our economy would absolutely be better for it.
We're pretty confident that right now there's a real commitment by the government and by DPR to go ahead and issue these licenses according to the period of time that we've been working with. Things have become very transparent.
The sensitization workshop attracted investors, marginal field operators, original equipment manufacturers, and modular refineries operatives. In Lagos, Musa.
Nigerians, this was the view of medical experts at a Work for Cancer put together by the Nigeria Stock Exchange in Lagos.
The marathon took off from the Onikan Stadium to Marina and back to the Onikan Stadium for a fitness exercise. The aim of the marathon is to create awareness on the prevention and management of cancer in the country. Cancer, which is a malignant tumor, medical experts say can be prevented. Members of the nation's financial sector at the exercise say the acquisition of the cancer mobile clinic is key to reducing the widespread of the disease.
To get mobile cancer units that will go into the remote areas. Because they're mobile, it means they're not stopped, and we can get out into the wider community, deep into the interior, and actually support the early detection, treatment, and cure of cancer amongst our society. Cancer, unfortunately, right now, is the number one killer in the world. And when you look closely at the Nigerian situation, the mortality rate is extremely bad. One of every 5% that gets diagnosed.
Water and abstinence from cigarettes and alcohol will help fight cancer.
And on entertainment news, Nigerian fast-rising pop star embrace fatherhood as the bet highlight African entertainers. Join us for details with Elizabeth.
It's nice to have you join us on entertainment news. Following the baby daddy drama trailing Davido for some time now, a baby girl. According to sources, the music star, Diana Sophie, dated for a while. Reports have it that Davido's baby mama is still a model. And still talking entertainment, The Soil, Wizkid, Yemi Alade, Fally Ipupa, Sauti Sol, and Sarkodie of Ghana have been nominated for this year's edition of the BET Awards, International Act in the Africa region. And now to the foreign scene. Nick begging the family of late Whitney Houston to allow him say Christina. According to his lawyer, Nick has respected the Houston keeping a distance from Christina. Nick is said to have asked the Browns and Houstons many times privately to grant him access public the details of the investigation. It will be recalled that found in a bathtub in Atlanta. Nick Gordon has been denied access to baby Christina in the last 3 months. And that's it on Entertainment News. My name is Elizabeth Omari.
And that's a package on NTA2 News at this hour. Many thanks for watching. Join us at 9 p.m. for the network news. I am Adiola Mokibi. Good evening.